Assalamu alaikum, friends. This is 𝗪𝗵𝘁'𝘀 in Chicago, and you're watching my channel, Knowledge for Quality of Life. Friends, last few vlogs, we've been looking at different vitamin D relationships with various diseases. Today, I'm going to try to look at few myths which are out there, and I have compiled a list of 10 to 11 based on the reading material which I have included in the description as well. So we will try to look at individual myth and try to see what the research says. Because, sometimes these myths are either comes in the form of news or in the form of some periodicals, or someone said so and so, just by words of mouth. But what is the validation of that fact or that myth? What the science says about that claim. So if it's not backing by any science, then that doesn't mean anything, because I always look for some sort of a proof with the scientific evidence. So let me share with you the screen, and I'll go one by one individual myth, and we'll try to debunk. So the first myth is vitamin D is stored in fat for use. So it means that, there's a general concept that, when you take vitamin D, you don't have to take daily. It gets stored in the fat, or you eat food through the foods, you get enough vitamin and it gets storage into the fat cells. And whenever your blood serum level, blood needs it, vitamin D, and it's going to, draw from that. But that's not true. So if what you are seeing here on this graph, that amount of vitamin D serum in the blood level versus subcutaneous fat. So if you look at that, relationship between the D3 stored in fat, subcutaneous fat, and D3 in the blood level, it has perfectly straight correlation. What it tells you. So if you look at the 5, at blood serum level, of course, this value is in nanomoles per liter. So if you look at the 5 value, it translates to about 60. If you look at 10, it translates to about 120. So this ratio is being constantly maintained, that the blood serum level for each nanomoles per liter, you need 12 nanomoles per kilogram of your D3 in subcutaneous fat. And if this hypothesis or this myth was true, that it will be available to you if you have more fat, vitamin D3 stored in a fat, so that you will be getting the vitamin D which will be available for your blood serum, it should be available. But it's not true, what we have seen in the field data. So we have seen that people who are obese or who have a higher BMI, they tend to require almost two to three times more vitamin D to maintain a certain target level. So it means that myth number 1, which I said vitamin D is stored in fat for use, that's not true. So let's go to the second one. This is very common, which we hear. Vitamin D intake and toxicity, that vitamin D is very toxic. That's what normally the perception is. And general required daily allowance is on a normal multivitamin is about 400 to 600 IU. And sometimes doctor even say that oh, you cannot take that beyond that, because it's going to be a toxic. Now, in the field, actually, we have seen, and I've shared many data in the previous vlogs, that to maintain 40 to 60 nanograms, you need quite a bit. Sometimes, it's 10 times of the RDA allowance, required daily allowance, which is given as 400 to 600 IU. So you would need about 4,000 IU to maintain 40 nanograms, which we saw in the previous vlogs, that 40 to 60 is the optimum range which grassroots health recommends. So this is not exactly true that, what they are saying in the higher vitamin D level, vitamin D supplement is that you are going to become a toxic. So what they have done in the field, this is a combined study of 15 studies of adults receiving vitamin D supplements, and 8 studies reporting toxicity. So they have combined this thing on this plot. And if you notice here that blue dots here, of course, the x-axis is log axis, logarithmic axis, because it goes from 1,000 IU to 10 million IUs. And the y-axis is the blood serum level, the blood level in nanomoles per liter. So they have seen that there no toxicity below 30,000 IU per day. It was observed. So everything here, so if you look at this area, so this is a cutoff line, and this is the cutoff line, seems like it's around about 50,000 IU, and that first toxicity, is defined. Now, when we say toxicity, what it means that, they call it hypercalcemia, that, your calcium level in the blood, which should remain around 8.6 to 10.3 or so, based on the lab range. It's going to go beyond that. And, sometimes with high calcium level in the blood, people are going to pee calcium through the urine. And, their calcium level will go above that tolerable range of the lab range, which normally dictates. But mostly I have talked to, my mom's doctor, my wife's doctor. I've heard from many people that who recommend vitamin D for their patients. No one talks about vitamin K2 because, K2, which we talked about in one of the previous vlogs, that cofactors of vitamin D. Now, what K2 does, I'm going to be doing separate vlog for vitamin K2, that what actual vitamin K2 depends on. But here, that whenever you take vitamin D, you have to, supply vitamin K2. So K2's job is to transport that excess calcium to the proper places like bones and teeth. Because remember that what vitamin D does, besides many other functions at multiple pathways and multiple cellular levels, it increases the absorption of calcium at the blood level. Now, that excess calcium needs to be guided to the right places. So that's why K2 is a must. And again, I'm cautioning those folks who are on Coumadin or warfarin, like a blood thinner. They need to consult with the doctor, their respective doctors, because sometimes K2 works against those blood thinners. So be mindful of that. But for general population, which we are talking about, 2,000 IU, 4,000 IU, 6,000 IU, up to 10,000 IU, they didn't see any toxicity at all in multiple studies. And this is the highest range of 500 nanomoles which one can have. Now that translates into 200 nanograms per milliliter. And we are not talking about 200 nanograms because, if you, for each 2.5 nanomoles per liter is 1 nanogram per milliliter. So if you divide 500 by 2.5, that gives you 200 nanograms per milliliter. These are different units depending on the country where you are living. So it means that they have not seen any toxicity up to 200 nanograms per milliliter. And we are talking about 40 to 60 range is a range, preferably around 60. Beyond that, we have seen in the previous vlogs that a lot of non-communicable diseases probability goes almost down. So I thought that, this snapshot of this slide, it speaks everything about toxicity. And I have included some link in the description below so that, if you want to read more on this subject, you can do on your own time. Now, third myth is, I will include third myth as taking vitamin D makes other nutrient deficient. Now, you remember my previous vlog, one of the vlogs I did, actually vitamin D and cofactors, such as vitamin K2, magnesium, vitamin C, all those multi-nutrients helps D in absorbing and, working and performing better in multiple pathways and enhances your deabsorption. So basically, it's on the contrary of this myth that, if somebody is deficient in D, chances are that they're going to be more deficient in other nutrients because they are not going to work in the synergy. So this is not true that taking vitamin D is going to deplete you in other nutrients. Now the fourth and fifth I have lumped together in this slide. Fourth myth is current RDA is enough for everyone. Means what we are saying that 400 to 600 IU per day is enough for all the population, basically, generally. But that's not true. If it was true, then we would not have this kind of a deficiency, which is illustrated in this slide. Then they are saying that fifth myth is vitamin D testing is unnecessary because sometimes it's not included in your annual physical unless you ask a doctor, and sometimes you get a pushback from your doctor that, oh no, you are fine, it's not needed. But remember one rule: if you don't measure, you cannot calibrate, you cannot fix it. You have to know what your level is. So that's why my first vlog about vitamin D was know your D number. Know your D number, what your D number is. That's at most very, very important. I couldn't put more emphasis on knowing your vitamin D status than anything else. And we have seen in previous vlogs that, what kind of impact it has. So if you look at these vitamin D levels in general US population, this is the NHANES data from, this stands for National Health and National Examination Survey from 2009 to 2014 data, ages 18 and plus years of population. So if you look at this entire pie chart, 64% bulk of the population lives in the range of 20 to 39 nanograms, and 23% is below the sufficiency range, basically. Sufficiency is actually 30. So basically, this combined 23 and 64 is somewhere, in below the sufficiency. And then 12% is only with a decent number in the range of being optimum, 40 to 59, and only 1% is above 60. So look at this data. It tells you that, where as a general population in the US standing. Now, I've seen multiple countries' data. Everywhere is the same story. One assumption was that, if you are living in below the equator in southern states or in southern hemisphere, different countries like Pakistan, India, Africa, you will have adequate vitamin D, because remember that you have to go in the sunlight to make vitamin D, not through the glass mirror when you're sitting in the car. No, the sun needs to directly hit your skin, and without clothes, so certain amount of your body needs to be exposed to make vitamin D. Because how we make vitamin D? One of the previous vlogs I said that when sunlight hits the cholesterol, it makes the vitamin D, and then the whole process starts at the way nature has designed us. Now, if you look at the grassroots health, this panel from their conducting a data between the same year 2009 to 2014, they have a better number, because they've been advocating their clients who gets tested from them that to supplement their D, either partly from sunlight, partly from supplement. So they have a better data. But if you look at bulk, still 38% is below the optimum range. So it means that you need to have the testing necessary, because as I said that if you don't test, you don't know where you are standing. And if you don't know where you are standing, you cannot fix it. That's the number one. Second, the current RDA is not enough for everyone. So those two myths we debunk based on these facts. Then next one is, the next myth is that myth number 6 is that sun and food provides enough vitamin D. Now this data is average vitamin D level for non-supplementers, so 3,950 people. So they are not taking any supplement. They are relying on food and sunlight. So look at this thing from January to December throughout the year. Now, one of the previous vlogs, I shared this data as well, that, between summer, as by just the end of May or mid of May, it starts picking up because, you are getting in the sunlight and you are making some vitamin D. But it peaks at August. So it crests at, at 32, and that's not in the optimum range either. So, and beyond that August, you start dwindling again because you are getting into the fall and winter. So by just not going into the sun, because, you remember that, we talked about this thing that African tribes, they spend almost entire day in sunlight because they are hunters. They don't have office lifestyle just like we do. So you have to go into the sunlight to make vitamin D. Otherwise, the type of lifestyle that we are leading in nowadays, it's almost impossible to get enough sunlight during the day. Well, I go in the summer deliberately, for 45 minutes to make something. But in the winter, I'm in Chicago, I cannot make it enough because, angle of incidence of the sunlight is not at that level that I can make some D, because, the UV radiations are not there. So the supplement is must. That's the bottom line. So this myth is that, D is okay. A vitamin D level will be okay with sun and food. That's not true. That myth is not true. The next one is myth number 7, kidney stones. A lot of people say that, oh, if I'm going to take D, of course, it's going to, increase my calcium absorption and I'm going to form a kidney stones. What they have found out in the studies that kidney stones, so this is a population study of 2012 people, and look at this bell-shaped distribution curve that shows that, in nanograms and nanomoles as well. So the median level of highest frequency distribution occurred at 50 nanograms per milliliter. Now, this curve, the blue line, is non-cases of kidney stone. Now, there are a few kidney stones occurred here, below even 50, below even 20. So they found out that, it has nothing to do with your vitamin D, those kidney stones formation. There are multiple reasons of kidney stones formations. Certain foods, it increases the chance of kidney stone formations. And then there are certain other reasons, just like not drinking enough water, and another reason, which I just said earlier, that not taking K2, because if you're not taking K2, then that excess calcium is not going to be guided to the right places where it should belong. So that formation of the kidney stone is just a myth. It's not true. Then vitamin D supplementation never had side effect. So before I come to this current slide, there's a myth that, there's no side effect for vitamin D. That's not true. There are side effects for certain people, certain conditions. Majority of the population will not experience any side effect as long as you are within that tolerable range of 40 to 60, which we've been talking about, that optimum range. Who will have side effect? People with hyperparathyroidism, people with sarcoidosis, people with special conditions, and particularly people who are taking a blood pressure medication, which is calcium channel blocker. So it will work as an antagonist, vitamin D, with that medication. So you have to, bottom line is that, we are not trying to be our own doctors here. We are reviewing the literature. We are going through the learning phase, and so that we are equipped better in understanding and so that we can work with our doctors, because we have to work with our health partner, who is our primary care doctor. So your doctor would know what kind of medications you are taking, what kind of prescriptions you are taking, what kind of conditions you have. So will there be any adverse effect or not? So work with your doctor. Now, the next myth is myth number 9. The same amount of vitamin D is good for everyone. Just like in the previous vlogs, I said one size does not fit all. So remember that this chart is telling you this. So on the x-axis is vitamin D intake in international unit per day, and the y-axis is vitamin D blood level in nanograms per milliliter. So if you see this dotted line where my cursor is, this is 40 nanograms and this is 60 nanograms. So this is the range we are talking about, that experts are recommending, 40 to 60. So if you look at how to read this thing, so if somebody takes 2000 IU daily, there's a chance of 55% of the population will hit greater than or equal to 40 nanograms per milliliter. Still 45% of the population will never hit, because remember that we all absorb differently. We'll all have our different BMI. We all have our own conditions. So we cannot paint the vitamin D picture with the same brush for everyone. So that's why I said that calibration is very, very important. That if you're not certain what customized dose you have, you start with small, like I did, 2000 IU. And then I went for testing after 3 months, and I then checked that, how much I gained. So my body, I can customize based on what did I gain in these 3 months based on 2000 IU. And if I want to be at certain level, how much I need. So that dose is my customized dose. So I did it for all my 5 family members, and that's how we are working. So each and every one is different. So if you look at that, people who are taking 4000 IU, okay, 75% of the population will hit 40 and greater, but 25% won't, okay? And you go and so forth. So it means that to hit 97% of all the population can hit 40 and greater, you need 10,000 IU. And remember one of the previous vlogs, we took that magical number of 10,000, why they came up with, based on this data. Now, another myth number 10 is that hormonal vitamin D is the only form that benefits us. Now, because you remember that this is how body needs all form of vitamin D, right? So here in this slide, what you see this, sun, you are making the D from sun, right? Either you make D3 from sunlight, right? Or if it's not possible, you take supplement here. So you can make D3. D3 is an animal source, which we call cholecalciferol, and this is the benefits it does. So if you are getting from sunlight, what it does, of course, remember that you don't have to put the sunscreen. Once you put the sunscreen, you are blocking it, and you're not going to make any D, because it's not going to form that synthesis chemical composition. Now, I said in a previous vlog, we don't have to be in the sun and bake ourselves to make D. The color of the skin depicts that. So my color of the skin is brownish. So I stay around 45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes. I don't stay more than that. But if you are a white skin person, then you need only 15 minutes. That's more than enough. And you will make somewhere between 15 to 20,000 IU. And if it's not possible because of the lifestyle that we are leading, then of course we need to supplement. So if you go through the sunlight process, it lowers the DNA damage in cell death. It increases the DNA repair, because sun has extra benefits besides making the D. The D which we get from sunlight, it's sulfated vitamin D. Then you make nitric oxide as well under the skin. So if you get through the vitamins through the supplement, then it's available, potent use for endothelial stability. anti-inflammatory, form needed by the breastfeeding moms to transfer the baby through breast milk, because this is the only way that mom can translate her status to the baby's status, because babies needs vitamin D for the growth and for the blueprint which is being formed in the infancy stage. Basically, vitamin D is nothing but it's so important that before I spoke in the my previous vlog for the pregnancy, that it starts from the day of conceivement, and then and it remains in use. You cannot just forget about it, that you have taken it, and once your level is up, then you can stop. No, it depends on your half-life. So the D3 half-life of D3 is less than 24 hours. So you need to take it daily. Some people said, oh, I can take weekly, I can take monthly, because I tend to forget. It's not going to be as effective. There was a study done. So it's all kind of answers are available, provided you look for one. So D3's half-life is 1 day, less than 24 hours. What is half-life? Half-life is that if there is a compound and there is some number associated with the amount of time that compound requires to be in half of its value, that time is called half-life. So let's say if I am standing at this point and it is available as in my blood by this much, in less than 24 hours, it's going to be half. So if I don't take for another few weeks, of course, it's going to furthermore in 24 hours, it's going to be half. In furthermore 24 hours, it's going to be half. So it's a downward spiral of exponential curve. So this half-life is 24 hours. Now, this D3 goes to our liver, and then it gets activated. It becomes 25-hydroxy vitamin D, which we call calcifidiol, which is the active form which we measure in the blood. When we go for test, we measure this thing, right? And there's a lag, I said in my previous vlogs for respiratory illness, there's a lag of about 5 to 7 days between these things, between the inactive form and active form. That's why in the Spain study, the calcifidiol for the COVID patients were given. And this is available directly via prescription as well, because if somebody's liver is not functioning the way it should, and you need to bypass, then your doctor needs to write a prescription as a calcifidiol. So what it does, taken directly into the cell and converted into so this is taken by the kidney, and kidney processes it, and then it turns into a hormone, which is, we call it 1,25-dihydroxy, which is known as calcitriol. Now this does the magic in the entire system of human body, not only human body, but our pets as well. If you have a pet like cats, dog, you should be concerned about vitamin D as well as we are concerned about in humans. So this helps in calcium absorption, bone turnover, multiple, which I've been saying that, all our cells, all our genes gets the raw material. This is the raw material, which I've been talking in my previous vlogs. So basically, this half-life of vitamin D3 is 24 hours. Half-life of 25-hydroxy is about 2 to 3 weeks. And half-life of this hormone is less than 4 hours. So think about this thing as, it's a daily routine thing. It's a daily routine thing in a way that, the nature has wired us. Let me stop the screen here sharing. And basically what I've been trying to do so far, that I'm trying to advocate and I'm trying to educate you, including myself, which I've been on this journey, because I have myself a learning curve, and I'm still learning. I've been studying this potent hormone for the last 8 years, and still I'm learning some new stuff. And I have tried to consolidate as much as to give you snippets of the extent of this crucial hormone, that what it does, and to what level it does things. And I hope I'm a little bit successful in this, and which will improve the quality of life as far as your health span is concerned. We are not talking about lifespan here. We are talking about health span, and we will define those two things: health span versus lifespan. And what we control, or to what extent we control, in the next future vlogs. But I'm going to leave you with this thought that if you think of this hormone is required from cradle to grave. If we are deprived from oxygen for maybe 5 minutes, we will not be alive. But if we deprive ourselves from this hormone and we remain deficient without knowing it, the future consequences is horrendous. And it's going to be a very, very costly, and it will impede our quality of life in the long run. So next time, what I'll be doing in my next vlog is going to be, I'm going to be sharing my personal best practices and my personal experience in my family, what I have experienced, what my mom has experienced, what my wife has experienced, and what we are doing and how we are doing things. With that thought, I will leave you and hope to see you next time. See you.